talking about supply chain management. Okay? So, week 7, lecture 7, supply chain management. What is supply chain management? A supply chain is a network between a company and suppliers who produce a specific product, produce and distribute a specific product to the final buyer. Okay, so pretty much what it is the process of having raw material that you buy from your suppliers turned into the end product that you sell to your customers. So that process in between linking that, so buying your raw material and selling it to your customers, that process is called a supply chain management. Okay, supply chain. So this network includes different activities, peoples, entities, information, and resources. Supply chain also represents the steps it takes to get the product or service from its original state to the customer. Okay, so like I said, from the original state, for example, when I was working at selling commodities, what we did is we used to buy millions of tons of seeds and beans. So we took all the seeds and beans and we bought it from farmers. So farmers had it all. They used to do all the farming and farm all the seeds. We'd go pick those seeds up by use of transport trucks or rail cars. We'd ship it over to our plant. We would crush those seeds and take out all the oil from those seeds and sell it to biodiesel companies. Okay, and while we were doing that, there was ways of what we would do to the oil. We'd either refine it, we'd bleach it, deodorize it, we would degum it. There were so many different ways of processes of it. That's what a supply chain is. Now, also we had oil. On top of that, we also had meal. Meal is it's like a protein powder type of thing that you get from these beans. So when you crush them and you grind them, they come in like a protein form. So that protein form was then used to sell to clients who manufactured food for animals. So for hogs, for cattle, for chicken, poultry, all that stuff. So there was two different processes, the meal and there was the oil, and they both had extra processes that were done in order to have a final product, which we then sold to specific customers. Okay, so that's pretty much what a supply chain is in a nutshell. Supply chain management. Okay, so supply chain management is actually transforming the raw materials into finished product. So the entire process of transforming raw materials into the finished product, that's the management of supply chain. Okay, transporting those products, right? You have to transport, you need transportation in order for the product to come to you and then get delivered, right? Distributing those products to end consumer, you need to be able to find the right distributors. Okay, so entities involved in supply chain management. You got producers, right? People who are suppliers and stuff, right? Producers, vendors, right? People who sell for you, warehouses, people who store for you, transport company, people who transport the product for you, distribution centers, places where you're selling your product, right? Retailers, distribution centers are who sell to retailers, so retailers can then take that finished good and mark it up and sell it. Okay, so functions in supply chain management. So you got product development, marketing, operations, distribution, finance, customer service. Now something you'll see here is pretty much every single function in the business is involved in supply chain. There's like maybe like HR might not be involved in it, but everything else is so heavily involved in the supply chain management, right? So for product development, you gotta have your supply chain managed to the point where you're developing a product that has the least amount of defects, that has the best customer reviews, that's the most reliable. You'll only get that if you have an efficient supply chain, okay? And if you have efficient supply chain management. Marketing, obviously you all know about marketing. Operations, every single thing that happens in a business, every single thing that happens is an operation, okay? And supply chain management, one of the main functions of it is operations. You got to make sure that everyone's operating, the machines are operating, the products getting delivered, products getting assembled, all that stuff. It all has to fall into place. Distribution. Now you have this product, it's all made, it's all ready. Where are you going to sell it, right? Who's going to sell this stuff for you? So you got to send it to distributors. send bulk to distributors. They can sell to retailers, make their money. So now you know where you're selling your product. Finance, you need to make sure that you have the financial backing for purchasing the raw material and then processing it and then having it sold to distributors. On top of that, you got to make sure that the price that you're selling it at to distributors is actually making you money so you can continue doing business. So that's very, very, very important, right? Finance, very important, supply chain management. And at the end, obviously, customer service. Okay, so what is the main benefit, right? What's the main benefit of supply chain management? Guys, this stuff is really important. Learning this is, it will really, really, really help you in if you guys want to start your own business, or even if you're working for a business. Understanding this would make you very, very important and very reliable, and needed by a company. Okay, so make sure you guys understand the supply chain management stuff. Supply chain management is literally found in every single company. The main benefit, the main reason supply chain management is put into place is to lower costs and faster production cycle. How does it lower costs? How does it make your faster production cycle? So for example, to lower costs, let's just say you only deal with 2 suppliers. Okay? The old ways, who was in your company before, they just dealt with 2 suppliers. You came into the company, you realized there's 10 more suppliers out there. Maybe those 10 suppliers can give you a better price. Maybe they can give you a better product, right? So then you put them all into this list, okay? Into this platform. There's platforms out there, software out there where you can use for handling suppliers. You can rate your suppliers. You can make notes on your suppliers. You can say, oh, this supplier was late at this time, blah, 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 blah. You can see how many times they were late, how many returns you got because of their product, how many deficiencies because of their product, how good your product performed. You have all that information. Now, when you have so many different choices and you have every single variable, you get to see who's the fastest, who's the most efficient. You get to pick the most efficient, which will save you the most money in the future or in the process, right? You pick the supplier that gives you the most benefit. Now, that's just suppliers. Now, transport companies. Huge list of transport companies. You do the same thing with the transport companies. Find who gives you the best price. So you find the best, most efficient suppliers, most efficient transport companies, boom, get sent right to your door. Now you're trying to figure out what processes does my company need to put into place in order to make this product the most least cost and the fastest production. Okay, that's where the management comes in, where you try to figure out the best processes. For example, I don't know if I told you guys that. I think I did. When I worked for, not when I worked for, when I was trading commodities, there was a guy who I told you guys about this. The guy from Saporito, the oil packager who lives in Four Seasons. He ended up, in order to have faster production and lower costs, he ended up putting these big robotic arms that would do all the work for him. He fired all his guys and he put in these 2 massive robotic arms that did all his packaging for him. And he was able to do all his packaging for a fraction of the cost of what it took to pay all these guys. So that's he enhanced his supply chain. He managed his supply chain. That's why he had resulted in lower costs and faster production. Flow of manufacturing costs. Flow of manufacturing refers to the processes of using materials and labor to complete a finished product that can be sold to a customer. So just like supply chain, that's what flow of manufacturing costs is. Is exact same. It's the flow from manufacturing a raw material to the end product. Those are the costs that are involved with manufacturing raw material into a finished product. Okay? A supply chain management system can reduce the cost and complexity of the manufacturing process, particularly for a manufacturer who uses many parts. Okay, so a supply chain can reduce the cost and complexity of the manufacturing process, particularly for manufacturing many parts. So if you have a supply chain system, like I said, if you have a supply chain system um, where you're managing it efficiently, if you have a lot of parts in your product, like for example, if Apple's building a cell phone, their new cell phone, or BMW's building their new car, they don't manufacture all those parts in-house, in-home. They import and they purchase a lot of parts from different suppliers, right? Seats, door handles, dashboards, computer chips, all that stuff. They probably just make the engine, but a lot of the parts come from different suppliers. So having a solid supply chain management system is very important in order to keep costs down and production levels high with a company that has a product with a lot of parts. So for example, a clothing manufacturer may first move raw material into production, such as fabric, zippers, and other pieces used to make clothing. The manufacturer then incurs labor costs to run machinery and perform other work using the materials. Once the items are completed, they must be packaged and stored until they are sold to a customer. Very straightforward, okay guys? There you go. Having reliable suppliers. An efficient supply chain management process requires reliable suppliers. Like I just said, you want to have the most efficient supplier. And an efficient supply chain management process, you have to have, right off the bat, the first stage is have reliable suppliers. This means they produce a quality product that meets manufacturers' needs and the product is delivered on time. Example, a company supplying metal hinges for doors. So if you see a regular door, they have metal hinges on the sides of the doors. So a company that's manufacturing those doors will probably buy those metal hinges from a different supplier. Those metal hinges need to be good quality and they need to come on time whenever the door manufacturer needs it. So, and the quality as in like people can't be returning it back to Home Depot saying the hinges broke, stuff like that. Because once they buy it from Home Depot and they return it, the vendor has to come to Home Depot and say, okay, yes, we're gonna return this, or no, this was a error by the user error. The user broke it, so we're not going to return it. Or if it's actually broken because of them, they're gonna have to return it. And when it goes back to the company will see what's the issue with these doors, how many doors came back, blah blah blah. Okay, it's the issue with the metal hinges. We got to find a new supplier. Supply chain and deflation. The evolution and increased efficiencies of supply chains have played a significant role in curbing inflation. So, what the statement is saying is that the evolution of supply chain, the fact that supply chain management is getting so much better and so much more efficient, it's actually helping inflation, right? So it's helping decrease inflation. So inflation is when the cost of goods become too high. Okay, like purchasing, like 50 years ago, if you try to purchase a television, or let's say 10 years ago, 20 years ago, try to purchase a television, very expensive to purchase. Now, because supply chain has increased so much, if you're trying to buy a television back then, let's say it was like, maybe television is not the best option. And then we talk about house. Let's just say we talk about a house. A house back in 50 years ago would have costed you fraction of what it costs you now, right? So that's inflation, because so much money is being printed that the value of money itself is losing value. So that's what inflation is. So when you have so much money being printed and so much readily available money, that's when inflation goes up, because so much money is being printed and the value of money is being lost. So what used to, like a slice of bread, which used to cost me $1, is now costing me $10. Okay? Because the value of $1 is losing its value. So that's what inflation is. But supply chain, what it's doing, since inflation is always going up, because of these wicked great processes in supply chain, it's actually lowering that cost, that inflation, because it's making things a lot more efficient. Okay? So as efficiencies in moving products from A to B increase, the cost in doing so decrease, which lowers the final cost to the consumer. Perfect. Okay. So as efficiencies in moving product from A to B increase, so efficiencies increase, the cost decrease. As long as you're more efficient, your costs go down. While deflation is often regarded as a negative, supply chain efficiencies are one of the few examples where deflation is a good thing. Okay. So like I just said, as globalization continues, supply chain efficiencies become more optimized, which keeps the pressure on input prices. So globalization is how companies are all working together and selling into different companies, different countries, and all countries are working in unison, and everyone is selling to each other and all that stuff. That's called globalization. Okay, so supply chain efficiencies are becoming more optimized because, for example, if I need a website or an app built, and I'm here in North America, I can just outsource it to India or Pakistan, and they can do it at a fraction of the cost of what would be done here. So efficiency, right? You save a ton of money by globalization, right? Very simple, straightforward stuff, guys. So, information systems and technology required for the supply chain management effort are readily available and can be implemented within a relatively short period of time, which I kind of tried to explain, is you have the information systems and technology software now that's being developed and is already in place, which helps create your supply chain management and helps make it a lot more efficient. Okay, so there's a lot of software out there for that. Okay, give me 1 second, guys. I have to begin at 11:15 a.m. So that's pretty much it. What else we got? Inventory and transportation management systems are also quite well understood and can be implemented readily. Very straightforward. Several supply chain initiatives fail, however, due to poor communication of expectations. Now, a lot of supply chain initiatives fail. The reason why they fail, like anything in the world, is because of lack of communication and understanding. Okay? You have to know what to expect. You have to know how to communicate that correctly. And you have to move forward. So, how do you optimize supply chain management? The single most important ingredient for successful supply chain management may well be trusting relationships among partners in a supply chain, where each party in the chain has confidence in the other's members' capabilities and actions. If you're in a business and you have a bad relationship with your suppliers, transport companies, and customers, you're probably not going to be in business a very long time. In order for you to be successful, you have to have very, very good working relationships within people in your organization, people outside of your organization that help your organization run. You have to have a solid understanding. It has to be a mutual benefit for everybody. Everyone has to win. Okay, so very important. How to optimize? Making sure you have trusting relationships. Without positive interpersonal relationships, the other systems cannot function effectively. Guys, it's like that in any situation in life. You have to have positive interpersonal relationships with people that you're working with, right? You have to have positive relationships. You have to have efficient relationships where you guys are aiming towards the same goals. Okay? Very important in order for you guys to work effectively. So, this is our after class assignment question that I want you guys to answer. And it'll be posted as well. Same question will be posted on Google Classroom at usually I post it like an hour and a half into the class. So this question is a little fun. It's just a little fun question, but it really helps to see how people's minds work. Okay, I don't want you guys to Google the answer. I don't even think that Google has the answer, but try answering this by yourself, guys, because there's no right or wrong answer. It just it'll help me figure out what type of problem-solving skills you guys have. Okay. So this question is asked to pilots and officers of like major commercial airlines, so Air Canada, Emirates, stuff like that, right? So they asked their high-end managers and stuff this question. Okay, so you're on a 20-foot yacht. Okay, a yacht is a big boat. Okay, so you're on a 20-foot yacht in the middle of the ocean. You run out of gas, you run out of electricity on the yacht. Okay, you have no gas and no electricity, but you have enough food and water to last you your whole lifetime. Okay, so this is just a hypothetical question, guys. It's not like a real life situation. It's just a hypothetical question where, let's just say you have enough food and water to last you for as long as you need. Okay, but there's no electricity, no gas, and you're in the middle of the ocean. You have 3 items on board. Okay, you have a rope, you have a mirror, and you have a box of power tools. Okay. The yacht is getting too heavy. You have to throw 2 of those items off the ship, off the yacht. If you don't throw 2 of those items off, the yacht will sink. Which item are you keeping for your survival, and why? Okay, answer this question. I really want to see what you guys come up with. Please don't Google it. It's no fun if you try Googling it and try to find like the right answer or who said what. Like, just think of it from your own mind, man, and just try and answer and see what you get. Okay, all right, guys. That's it for me, and I will see you on the live chat. See ya.